I have just finished reading all 230 pages of the final ruling in the remedy phase of USA v. Google. It dropped late this afternoon, and I just finished reading it. I posted my initial thoughts up in an article. I'm going to go over it with you now, and it is ridiculous. It is borderline redonkulous. In effect, the short version, nothing happens at all. But not just nothing happens in the a lot of people expected that Google would get a little tiny slap on the wrist, but no real significant change would happen. It doesn't even slap Google on the wrist. It specifically outlines that Google can continue illegally doing its illegal practices that it was found guilty of with no problems. Just it can keep on doing them. It's crazy. It's crazy making. I'm going to go through it with you right now. Here's bits and pieces of the article. I'm going to try and read it to you as straight as I can without freaking out too much. Judge Amit Priyavadan Mehta, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Judge, a 2014 appointee of President Barack Hussein Obama II, has issued, people don't use Barack Hussein Obama II's full name enough. I feel like people should use his full name. Has issued his long-anticipated final ruling in the remedy phase in the case of USA v. Google. Back in 2024, as you may recall, Judge Mehta ruled that Google had, as the lawyers for the USA easily argued, illegally monopolized the search engine market. Now, the proposed remedies to that ruling were many and varied, big and small. Some of them were like Google being forced to sell off the Chrome web browser or even possibly Android, as well as Google being forced to cease all default search engine placement payments to corporations like Mozilla. There was a bunch of smaller ones too, including some data sharing things, an education fund to be set up by Google. There was a huge pile of little rinky-dink remedies that were also proposed. However, in a move which is sure to make Google and Mozilla very, very happy, Judge Mehta opted to not enforce any of the significant remedy proposals. This means that Google can keep Chrome. It doesn't have to get rid of Chrome. Google can keep Android. Doesn't have to get rid of Android. Google can continue paying for default search engine placement with no restrictions whatsoever. In fact, as I was reading through it, I couldn't find any significant changes or remedies or punishments at all that were adopted by the judge. None whatsoever. A couple of news outlets are reporting that there are some data sharing provisions in here. However, if you read through all 230 pages, you quickly come to the conclusion that there's a section on data sharing, which I will show you in a little bit. 90+% of that remedy was struck down by the judge, and the 10% that's left over is utterly meaningless to everybody, including Google. It's ridiculous. So again, as you read through all 230 pages of the ruling, it is almost shocking how every single proposed remedy is shot down, big or small, one after another. All of them. There's not even a slap on the hand in here. The idea of the forced divestiture of Chrome, meaning that Google would be forced to sell off Chrome to another organization, was declined as having, quote, not met the heavy burden to warrant the radical structural remedy. Okay, it is an intense remedy. I mean, forcing a company to sell off a significant product is a significant remedy. It's been done before. There's legal precedent for it. In fact, for doing it far more than this, but it is a significant thing. So, okay. Likewise, the notion of a forced divestiture of Android was proposed. That was also shot down. And in a decision which is going to cause many Mozilla executives to breathe a sigh of relief this evening, Google will be allowed to continue paying other corporations for default search engine placement. Now, at present, Mozilla earns over 80% of their revenue from exactly such a deal by making Google the default search engine in Firefox. That deal will be allowed by the courts to continue. Now, what's really fascinating here is this exact practice. In fact, this exact deal was specifically called out as one of the reasons why Google was found guilty last year. It was called out by the prosecution, and it was called out by the judge. And yet, the courts now say Google is specifically allowed to continue this practice, which this same judge, said was specifically illegal. That's crazy to me. That's like convicting someone of robbing a house, but saying, you know what? But we're gonna let you keep robbing houses, though. like, okay, not only are you not being punished, but I'm gonna go ahead and say you just keep on doing you. You keep doing the thing I just found you guilty of. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. Even the smaller remedies. There was many smaller proposed remedies. They were all declined. In fact, one of the most common phrase in the ruling from Judge Mata is "the court declines." Quote, "the court declines." 3 magical words over and over again. The court declines. How about some sort of remedy for publishers? The court declines. How about a remedy payment for the court declines? Well, what about mandating that Google share some of the search engine data? The court declines. How about some other type of search engine data? Or maybe Google could pay a little money into some sort of educational fund. Hey, read my lips, buddy. The court declines. The ruling goes on and on like that. It's 230 pages of the court declines. If they made a movie about this court case, it would need to be called The Court Declines, because no matter what came up, the court friggin' declines over and over again. And what is truly bizarre is how Judge Mata makes it clear in this ruling and in his previous one. 2 things. Number 1, Google was not only guilty of illegally using its monopoly status and illegal monopoly practices, but obviously and overwhelmingly so. And number 2, that many of the proposed remedies by the prosecution both have significant precedent and, in fact, go less far than past remedies in similar cases. And yet, Judge Mata shot down those remedies, even remedies which were simply things like Google should stop doing the thing that the court just ruled Google did illegally. Those were declined. Now, Judge Mata repeatedly suggested that remedies should not be imposed against Google because those remedies might make other companies sad. Such as Mozilla. Mozilla, right? Google needs to keep making illegal payments to Mozilla, or can keep making illegal payments to Mozilla, because it would make Mozilla sad to not get illegal money. You following the legal logic there? The courts last year found that Google making those default search engine payments to Mozilla was an illegal usage. It was violating antitrust law. So they were illegal payments. The courts then ruled that the remedy of Google should simply stop doing the thing that it was found guilty of doing illegally. Well, that remedy was too horrible because Mozilla really wants that money. So therefore, Google should keep doing the illegal payments. You wrapping your heads around that? In many ways, this reads like a judge who had been bought off by the mafia in a murder trial. The defendant has been found guilty of murdering 22 people with a big ol' hammer, the judge says, eyes darting nervously around the courtroom, sweat pouring down his forehead. And it would certainly be expected that murdering 22 people, he would get the chair, or at least, a lot of jail time. But it would certainly make him, super sad be punished. And the bakery that he likes to visit in the morning, that bakery wouldn't get his business anymore if he was in prison, if he was in jail. So that would make the bakery super sad to lose a customer, and maybe that bakery wouldn't be able to make cupcakes anymore, right? So this guy that murdered 22 people, he should probably be released, without any punishment. That's what it reads like. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. There's no slap on the wrist here. Read through it. Like, literally, the judge is like, no, you know what, Google? You don't even have to pay some pocket change to establish an educational fund for orphans or whatever the frig. It literally just is like, no punishment. No remedies. No, you don't even have to stop doing the illegal thing. Keep on being you, Google. Keep on trucking. So it's not even a slap on the wrist. What? I think the cynical part of me, and I know the cynical part of so many of you, thought all that's going to happen is some sort of little tiny fine and maybe some sort of performative half measure, but otherwise no real substantive change. I think a lot of us thought that, right? Because we've seen these sorts of court cases happen before. We start thinking of Microsoft and so many other things. But that didn't even happen. There's no slap on the wrist fine. There's no actual performative even half measure. There's certainly no stop doing the illegal thing. It was just straight up page after page, 230 pages of stop being mean to Google. It makes them sad. They're too big. You can't make big companies sad like that. And also, you can't make Google sad because that might make Mozilla sad. And then they'd be sad, guys. Crazy. So the big question is what happens next? Okay, well, Google has still been found guilty of antitrust violations, right? They're a monopoly. They're a guilty monopoly, basically. And which, as long as that ruling stands, the one from last year, the possibility of other cases ruling against them remains higher. As such, it seems likely that Google will seek to appeal that ruling last year, right? If you're Google, you want to appeal that ruling and get that taken away. At the same time, it seems entirely reasonable that the United States attorneys may opt to appeal this remedy ruling. Right? Because, the remedy is preposterous. It doesn't even have a slap on the wrist. So we spent, as taxpayers, a huge, millions and it's hard to even calculate the amount of money that got spent on this trial in the court systems and with lawyers and everything else. And nothing happens. Not even a performative half measure or slap on the wrist. So it seems reasonable that the U.S. attorneys might appeal this. Like, hey, Supreme Court, at least slap them on the wrist. In other words, the can gets kicked down the road. Nothing changes, at least not at the moment. The illegal practices, the things that were deigned to be illegal, they continue. Payments to corporations like Mozilla can continue, which means, in all likelihood, Mozilla survives another day. And all this just gets kicked months, possibly even years down the line. And nothing happens. I've posted this article wherever you're getting this show. I'll have a link to the article where you can get all the screenshots. I've also included the entire PDF. It's 230 pages. Go ahead and read it. Enjoy. You can download it straight from the article. I've got it stuck up in there, and you can go ahead and grab that there because we shall all be able to have access to it. Now, it's going to be interesting to see. I have yet to see any response from Google or Mozilla as of my recording this. I'm sure they'll have one pretty quickly. In fact, I would be surprised if they aren't working on it or even publishing it as I'm recording this. I reached out to two contacts at Mozilla and one contact at Google that had gotten back to me by the time I wrote this article. All three of them learned about this ruling because I contacted them. I reached out to two people at Mozilla and I was like, hey, so what's happening at Mozilla? I mean, you guys have got to be celebrating, right? Because you're going to continue getting 80% of your money, which you've been getting, 80% of your revenue because of this Google deal will be allowed to continue by the courts. And one guy was like, really? He's like, I hadn't heard anything yet. Same with over at Google. The guy is like, yeah, I hadn't heard any of this happening. There hadn't been any internal people with inside Google or Mozilla talking about it. There hadn't been any internal statement about it. In fact, I learned that an executive at one of those two companies, which I may talk about this specifics of this particular interaction a little bit more later on. It doesn't really affect the news at all, but it's very amusing to me. But there's one particular executive that was high up at one of these firms that's very, very much part of this story. I've mentioned their name in this article, that didn't even know about it, right? Which means that they hadn't even heard from their lawyers that this was happening, that this ruling had been handed down at the executive level at one of these companies who was just hanging, waiting on the edge of their seat for this ruling. They had to learn about it from Lunduke. I loved it. I love it. I can't get enough of that. That's fantastic. There's more to that story. I'll tell it a different time. But first, I want to talk to a few internal people first. Thank you. Thank you so much to the subscribers of the Lunduke Journal. Go to lunduke.com to subscribe. Free subscriptions everywhere. Substack, Locals, X, podcast RSS feed, Rumble, Patreon, YouTube. There's all sorts of stuff over there. Enjoy it. The articles, the audio podcasts, the videos, they're all free for everyone to enjoy. If you want to support the work that I do, there are ways to get monthly, yearly, or even lifetime subscriptions. Please consider doing so. You keep the Lunduke Journal ad-free, big tech-free, non-woke, and audience-supported. No company, not Google, not Mozilla, not Apple, not Microsoft, not Amazon, nobody can tell the Lunduke Journal what to cover, what not to cover, and what to say, which means I can say the truth. Always. And you've seen that in the coverage over the last few years. And that's all because of you. That's all because of the subscribers. That would absolutely not be possible if it weren't for the subscribers. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart for making it possible. Likewise, if you work for a big tech company, Google, Mozilla, Apple, anyone, if you are involved in a large open source project, or work at a big tech foundation, and you see something shady, something political, some weird business move, something crazy that's going on where you're like, this just doesn't feel right, and you want to become a whistleblower, go to lunduke.com. I've got a link on there called Become a Tech Whistleblower. There's also just an email address right there. There's a few different ways to get a hold of me, and if you want to remain completely anonymous, even with me, there are ways to do that. And of course, if you just want to contact me and you want to say, hey, Lunduke, keep me anonymous. Don't reveal your source for this material, these screenshots, these PowerPoint files, these emails and chat messages and internal video clips that I'm providing that the world needs to know about. Don't let people know it comes from me. Well, the Lunduke Journal has a firm policy of never revealing sources. We've published whistleblower leaks from Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, Red Hat, and many more at this point. And I expect that to continue for quite some time. And I have never revealed a source, even when asked. That's a firm policy. In fact, I carefully scrub all leaked material before sending it out to make sure there's no metadata, to make sure there's no personally revealing information in screenshots and files that are being published. It's very, very important. The anonymity, the privacy, the job security of the people who are bravely being whistleblowers is absolutely paramount to the Lunduke Journal. If I can't publish the material leaked to the Lunduke Journal safely while fully respecting the privacy and anonymity of the whistleblowers, I won't leak it. I won't publish it. It's critical, absolutely critical that you guys be respected. But if you want to get information out there, go to lunduke.com. There's a link that'll help you walk through how to send larger files to me, what sort of stuff is interesting or important, how to get a hold of me, different ways. Sometimes people like to get a hold of me via X, direct messages, like your little private messages, sometimes via email. There's no wrong way to do it. There's a couple of options. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. Just don't do it from your work email account. And yeah. So thank you. Thank you all for allowing this sort of work to continue and for making this sort of coverage possible, because doggone it, no one else is doing it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.